the Duel Podcast. I am back after a couple weeks off. I didn't really do anything in May necessarily with the podcast, but we got a jam-packed show today. I'm not going to run any ads during the show. I'm trying to keep this one relatively short. So anyone that paid for ads, you'll be in the next show. Unfortunately, one of my main sponsors, Sin City All-Stars, Chrissy Terranova, has not logged into the game for 6 weeks. So I'm a little disappointed in that because they were one of the main sponsors of the Pick'em contest. So I'm not sure where the contest is going to go from here, if the contest is going to continue. I still run Zenith, so I'll still be giving out Zenith-based prizes, and still be tracking the winners for every card, for every thread. But on today's show, all of those fights are going to factor in, but today's show, I'm going to be talking specifically about a few different things. Number one, the Tower Correa main event for this weekend. I'll break down that fight. That fight exclusively. I know Sin has asked for another breakdown in regards to that card. At this point, looking at that card, I love that card. It's great. But there's a lot of fighters that I've covered on the podcast 3 or 4 times now. And I've basically run out of things, new and inventive things I could say about them. So I'm just going to focus on the main matchup, the new matchup, the one I really, really like, which is the main event, of course, the heavyweight super fight between Tower and Correa. So those two guys are going to throw down this weekend. It's going to be great. And then secondly, I'm going to be talking about a card next Tuesday. 3 title fight card, very exciting card for North Star Combat and John Doherty. And really, really excited about that because this will be the first champions in a lot of those divisions, and I have a fighter over there that is decent, and I really like the way that they've approached things and are doing things, and so that's going to be a fun one to talk about. I've been asked to preview the top 6 fights on that fight card, so we're going to do that today. But first, before I get to any of those fights, we're going to have 7 fights on the show, as I said. I like to use this podcast as a forum, as a barometer on how I'm feeling about certain things Tycoon related. And I think the biggest thing I've had in the last 2 or 3 weeks where I've been able to step back and kind of assess things. I've now been in the game for over 6 months. My VIP is soon set to expire. I will be renewing because I, of course, am matchmaker and event planner for Pride, and I also run Zenith Nutrition, so I have a lot of responsibility in this game now. So I'm going to be continuing with that, renewing my VIP. I'll probably do that today or tomorrow so I don't forget. I've got a week or so left on it. But for me, I am starting to notice some patterns that I don't necessarily like. And for me, I've been trying to use this, as I said, a forum, something that people can listen to, enjoy, create discussion within the community, debate on different things. really, really enjoy doing this. It's nice I'll probably do it a bit less, but it's nice to, have something every 10 days or 2 weeks that I can just post and say, here's what's going on in the game right now. I appreciate your support in any way that we can do that. But what I've noticed lately, and this especially comes up when I'm trying to explain the game or explain the environment to new people. The biggest thing is, number one, it's a text-based real-time game, and a lot of people don't have the patience or the ability to focus on something for that long before a real payoff. And I feel like the downside to this is, I've been here 6 months or more, and I really don't feel, I played it for a year and a half, 2 years the first time, when everybody was kind of, a year or less into the workings of the game. It was all a mystery. And now it's all been figured out because it's been around long enough for fighters to be made, have a full career, retire, be Hall of Famer, and for adjustments to be made in strategy and all that stuff without the game structure changing radically. Big thing for me right now is a lot of people don't have 6 months that they want to wait for that payoff. It's what makes it unique, but it also is what makes it a barrier for some people. And the other thing that I've noticed when I talk to a lot of these people that are new to the game or people that are experienced but are getting back into it, as I said, they don't have the attention or the patience, but I always kind of say, oh well, the community can help you. And I'm noticing that is becoming harder to come by because a lot of people either abandon it in the middle. I've noticed some friends of mine have lost interest and gone. I talked about Chrissy leaving the game, Soyster leaving the game, and these are veterans that have been around for a while that are just starting to, that veteran user base even that I thought would never go away is starting to disintegrate in some way. And I think that has something to do with the rest of the community response to a lot of things. And the community response is super important just because a lot of the things that I see posted with intention to generate discussion or positivity in some sense has been veered off into a ditch because either the forum thread itself has been taken off topic from what it was originally intended to be, or I see a lot of people going, well, that's a stupid question. I go, well, that's all you can do all you can do to learn is trial and error and ask questions. And that's what some people are trying to do. And I just feel like the forum itself has devolved into a bit of a toxic environment between groups of people that anybody who is new or trying to get back into the game, if they take a look at it, they go, well, why should I bother putting up with this garbage? And I don't really have a good answer for them. Trolls and people like that are everywhere on the internet, but they seem to be multiple. They multiply when they're fed, and considering we have maybe 400 people in this entire community, it seems to be a little bit disproportionate, because you get 400 people in this entire community and maybe 20% of them visit the forums on a regular basis. Maybe it's even lower than that, I'm not sure. But I'd like to get some publicity, some promotion. I'd like to get new people in the game, but the attitude towards the game, both on the development side, with nothing really happening, and on the community side, with topics being, I don't know if hijacked is the right word, but a lot of topics that could generate positivity and discussion within the game are being veered off course into just shouting matches between the same groups of people. Everything I see, any chance they get to make it about their own interests, that's what they'll do. So, as someone who's coming back into the game, remembers the community and what it was 8, 9, 10 years ago, that's just a frustration I have, because I look at it and say, if I wasn't coming back, and if I didn't have money right from the get-go, I probably wouldn't have lasted. I probably would have quit. And that's disappointing to me, because I look at a lot of the new players, and we could get new blood, because if the new blood understands the game and is willing to stick out the time, they can commit to it. But if they look at the main things being just squabbles between members of our own community, then what reason do they have to stick around? Okay, so that's my reflection, my rant for the day. I hope that wasn't too preachy for some of you guys, but that's something I felt like I needed to get off my chest in some way, and hopefully we can either get this message out in whatever way possible, or create a culture change for the better for this community, because I feel like the developers are responsible and haven't pulled their weight, and I feel as a community we are responsible, and we also are not a good reflection of what this game could potentially be, should we be able to show it the right attention. Okay, so let's get to the fights, folks. And first one, of course, I'm going to touch on, as I mentioned in the intro, Sin 632, Wesley Correa versus Ian Tower. Ian the CN Tower. Alex K bringing Tower over from Empire to face Correa. Correa, Steph Powers fighter, number 3 in the world, number 1 in the weight class, has come over from Dare/Sin Europe is 3-0 in Sin so far with wins over Kimbo Slice and Phil Hellmuth Jr. My guy acquitted himself quite well, and Correa managed to get the finish there. But these are two guys on long win streaks. Correa 24-3-1, Tower 20-2. Correa, bigger power fighter. All but one of his fights have ended in a win for him by knockout. All one of his wins. And both these guys, in their 5 losses, only 2 have finished inside the distance. So this is an interesting fight for me because both these guys have a chin. The question is, will Tower's chin hold up against Correa? I have a suspicion that Tower's secondaries are very strong, even though he's at a primary disadvantage in every area, except for BJJ. Boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, all elite on the Correa side. This is number 1 versus number 2 in the weight class. Number 3 versus number 4, pound for pound. And the winner of this fight will be the new number 1 pound for pound fighter, I would imagine. Of course, Tower, as is his name, has a significant height advantage in this fight. They both weigh roughly the same. Cardio looks to be about the same. Generally, I'm going on principle with Correa in this fight. You guys may disagree with me, but I'm going with Correa here. I don't know if there's anybody in the game right now that has the type of fight-altering power that Correa has. And I feel like Tower might get the advantage on scorecards or on early fight-wise. But all it's going to take is a couple of big shots to turn the fight. And I think Correa is good enough to land those shots. If he can land them on Kimbo, if he can land them on Kakacho, I'm sorry. Kakachuan? Matt can do it, I can't do it. If he can land it on those guys, he can land it on Tower. So I'm taking Correa by stoppage. I think probably, I would say 4th round, if I had to guess. I'll say round 4 stoppage for Wesley Correa. Other than that, I got North Star Combat this week. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go through the rest of the Tower Correa card, just because I feel like I've covered all of these guys multiple times. I've covered Orlando Diggs past 4 fights in a row. I covered Nick Murphy when he fought Jawan Robinson and when he fought 3 Dog. And the co-main event's a rematch with Foot Fungus. I love all those fighters. I think they're all great. And but I have run out of different ways to describe how great they are. So I'm just going to do that one. Put in my prediction for Correa Tower. I said Correa by 4th round KO. And then I'm going to move on to North Star, one of the smaller orgs that I quite enjoy. John reached out to me and asked for a preview of one of their cards on the 28th. It's NSC 27, Zuma versus Wolf. We'll get to that. By the way, NSC 26, my fighter's in the co-main event, and is currently favored. I don't know about that, but I'll take it. But this is an interesting card to me because it's got some legitimate contenders on it. We've got Finnish Experiment versus Grimor Argesen for the 135-pound title. Bobo Nielsen versus Luis Alvarez for the 145-pound title. Duel Choi, who I just fought, versus Jack Wilder for the 155-pound title. Nicholas Mueller and Brutus Legolas. Jim Bob McDonald and Doug Glatt. And Montezuma versus Howlin' Wolf. Also, Harry Trowning versus Brent Boston. The reason I get pretty excited about these cards is a lot of these guys are former veterans of my work. Trowning fought here. Mueller fought here. Zuma fought here. Now, Montezuma, Kamara told me I'm retiring him. His chin is gone. He should stop fighting. And he's left the org and fought 4 more times for North Star. So, Kamara, I don't know if you chose to lie to me, but you said this is his last fight, I'm quitting, and went and fought 4 more times. So, I don't know if you scared. You scared? The competition was too good for him over where I'm at, but that's kind of what it looks like to me. So I'm going to run down these 6 fights here. Finnish Experiment versus Grimmer Argesen. As I said, first title fight on this card, 6th fight on the card, but first title fight, 135. This is, I think, the first 135 fight I've previewed on the podcast, so that's pretty exciting. Sensational, exceptional, Brown, exceptional, sensational, Brown. So very evenly matched fighters. Bit of a tougher weight cut for Argesen. He weighs in at 147, so he's got to cut quite a bit of weight for 135 or a guy that small. Both of these guys, Experiment is 2-2-1, Argesen 3-1-1, and the draw came in a title fight between the two of them a couple weeks ago. I said they were evenly matched. They proved it in their previous fight by fighting to a draw. Nothing really much between the two of them. 9-4-3 for Experiment. 15-14-2 for Argesen. But you have a 308 ID versus a more active 311 ID. I'm basically flipping a coin in this fight prediction, but I'm going to go with, based on Argesen's chin and Experiment's power, he's won 8 of his 9 fights by KO TKO. Argesen has lost 6 fights that way, so I think Experiment's going to catch him and win the title. All of these fights have 3-minute rounds in a ring, so we'll see. That's a 5-round, 3-minute per round fight. Next we have Bobo Nielsen versus Luis Alvarez. And this is... I understand you don't have a lot of depth talent, necessarily. This should be a walk. Nielsen is the superior fighter primarily-wise, much superior fighter hype and popularity-wise This is the 34th best 145er in the weight class, fighting the 225th best based on height. And Alves has won 4 in a row, but Nielsen is a guy who's fought in Cardinals, done well, fought for the title there twice, has fought several guys that I now have in Pride, and I'm thankful that I was able to draw a lot of my talent from there. However, I just think he's overmatched here. I think Nielsen is going to run away with this Alves, and I think it's going to be... I'd be surprised if it wasn't first round. You've got a sensational, remarkable, elite purple belt versus proficient, respectable, strong brown belt. Alpha's bread and butters is BJJ. He's got 9 of his 12 wins there. My struggle is, how is a strong wrestler going to take down an elite wrestler to even attempt a variety of submissions? So I'm going to take Nielsen first round KO TKO in that fight. Now we got 4 fights left on the card. Duel Choi and Jack Wilder. Duel Choi, sensational, exceptional, brown. Wilder, sensational, exceptional, wonderful, brown. Much closer matchup, 155. I personally had my fighter fight Joy a couple of fights ago in kind of a number 1 contender fight for this title. Lost a split decision, which I feel like I won that fight. But he's super, super tough. This one's a tough one. You got 14-4 versus 15-10. I think the one advantage that sways this for me is Duel Choi has never lost a fight inside the distance. And Wilder has been knocked out 3 times. And Joy does have 8 knockout wins. So I think the path to victory, there are multiple paths to victory for Hojoy, whereas Wilder kind of has to use volume to win the decision, in my opinion. So I'm picking Duel Joy, and we'll go with that. And that would be to retain his title. So I've got Finish Experiment winning 135, Bobo Nielsen retaining at 145, and Duel Joy retaining at 155. Now, Brutus Legolas versus Nicholas Mueller. Interesting fight for me. As I said, Mueller's a Pride veteran for 1 fight before his manager disappeared. However, I do think he's going to lose this fight. And I'll explain why. We've got triple sensational brown, exceptional elite sensational purple, heavyweight clash, anything can happen here. Legolas, 12 of his 15 wins by KO TKO. Mueller, 25 of his 27. So he's got some big power. The issue is his chin also has some big cracks in it. You know, you've got a heavyweight who is fighting his 46th professional fight. I think He's got some miles on that chin. I think his best days are behind him. I'm taking Legolas, to win by KO, because I think Mueller's chin is finito. I should mention 24 centimeter height advantage for Mueller in that fight. Jim Bob McDonald versus Doug Glatt. And two of my favorite avatars in this game. Glatt with the enforcer, hockey player vibe going on, with the tattoo on his hand. That's amazing. Whoever made that avatar, props. Jim Bob McDonald, I can already tell without looking at him, that's a buff minion character / avatar, the Barnyard Brawler. I love it. So we got a guy in the barn and a guy on the hockey rink, and they're gonna slug it out. And quality heavyweight matchup. We've got Jim Bob, who's actually the number 16 heavyweight in the world, so he could jump into the top, maybe even the top 10 with a win. Exceptional, wonderful, strong, exceptional, wonderful, wonderful, brown, purple. Jim Bob, 15-4. Glatt, 13-7-1. Much closer fight to me than it looks. Glatt, 2-2-1 in his last 5. Jim Bob has won 3 in a row. Probably getting a 265 shot. Whoever wins here to crown a champ. Jim Bob, 14 of his 15 wins by stoppage. Glatt, 12 of his 13 by stoppage. So somebody's getting stopped here. And when in doubt, take the guy with the better chin. And that seems to be McDonald. Because Glatt, in his 7 losses, 6 of them have been by KO. McDonald has 4 losses, but 3 of them have been by sub. So that's a little unusual for heavyweight for his chin to hold up, but for him to lose via being subbed by another heavyweight. So I'm going with Jim Bob there. And finally, we got our main event, Montezuma versus Howlin' Wolf. Elite Sensational Elite Black versus Triple Elite Brown. Number 52 versus number 54 in the weight class. Very, very close fight. I'm curious because Zuma's one of those guys that subs are his forte. But I feel like I have to pick against him because of what I said earlier about Nicholas Mueller. 29-18. So this is his 48th professional fight. 17 subs wins of his 29. 9 of the other 12 by KO TKO. Wolf has won every fight of his by stoppage and lost every fight of his by stoppage. So this is his 21st fight. He has never needed a scorecard. I really don't know who's going to win this fight. Zuma has 13 losses by KO TKO. It's a really tough fight for me to call. I'm going to take Wolf because I think he'll get to the chin first. Because Zuma seems to be more involved in getting takedowns, going for submissions. Doesn't have this straight up raw power that some other guys do. And I think if he gets cracked by a guy who's never seen a decision, he's probably going down. So to recap, the top 6 fights on this card. I've got Experiment, Nielsen, Hojoy, Legalis, McDonald, and Wolf to win those 6 fights. And those are the fights for today. I'll post this show I'm recording in the morning. I'll probably post it in the evening or the next day. Of course, thank you guys for listening. Post your picks for these 6 fights, plus the Tower Correa fight, in the comments below, where I post this on the forum. The winner of each of these podcast pick'ems, of course, gets 10 supplements of their choice from my nutrition store, Zenith Nutrition, and we'll get you hooked up with the good stuff, the best stuff, and whatever else it is that you want. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Again, I hope my rant at the start of the show wasn't too preachy, and I'd like to give a shout out to my own org before I go. Pride is hosting their very first ever 90 plus K arena show on June the 16th. I'll be talking about that in a future show, but we got 2 of the best light heavyweights in the world in 3 Dog and Connie Gray fighting on top of that card on June the 16th. So that will probably be featured in a show, either a show or 2 down the line. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I'll see you next time.